For the last few weeks, we've been exploring this way of setting down old bricks, old broken bricks of the theology that we have inherited, of the church experience that we have inherited, this way that we kept building walls and walls and walls when in reality they don't work. And sometimes it gets cracked. And then folks come to the Abbey and they say, Pastor, fix my bricks. And I totally disappoint you and say, I can't. Like, there's not a rainbow inclusive brick that I can give you, and it's certainly not something you can show your Uncle Joe just to prove to him that you're just fine. There's not a feminist empowerment brick. I mean, we could make one just for fun, but it's not really going to work. This is about new tools. And that requires a lot of presence and a lot of practice. And sitting down and weaving something new together, looking for those threads. And in our United Methodist tradition, the way that we name practice, the way we name these rhythms of how we practice, come in a few ways, but one in particular is when folks decide to be a member of a church or a community. And membership isn't like a store gift card or a store it's not like Target Circle, where you get certain deals and 5% off or whatever. It is this ownership that we share with our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness, our intention towards making community. And that space of prayer and those practices may seem obvious to some, but maybe prayer is something that you have engaged in and tried really hard at and fell asleep. Maybe that's just me. But I want to explore these different types of spiritual practices over the next few weeks. And on this day, this practice of singing loud and bold. John Wesley has a great quote called, "Sing lustily and with good courage." So if you remember nothing else, you can remember this ancient guy saying the word lustfully, or lustily, I should say. I wouldn't want Bishop Scott Jones to be concerned that I misquoted John Wesley. But singing is powerful. Singing is so powerful. When I was brand new and in the candidacy process and going to my home church in Plattsmouth, I was helping and learning, and the pastor would say, hey, just pray today, or hey, whatever. And I would be up there by the microphone, and it got to Christmas time, to Advent, and people were smiling one morning, like so smiley. I was like, can they hear me singing? Are they laughing at me? But no, they were just so happy to be singing songs that they knew by heart, that they felt by heart, that meant so much. See, singing is something sacred that we can do together. One of my favorite Advent devotionals talks about birds, how they sing and sing and sing and chirp, but how they are so different from us, that we are one of the only creatures that can sing together. Like the birds can't make a choir. We can sing together, and when we sing together, we start to breathe together. We inhale and we exhale together, this universal, this communal experience. Brene Brown calls it collective effervescence. Like at a concert, when the music drops out, and the whole auditorium is singing in unison. This sense of one another, this sense that guides us, that nurtures us, that dives down deep into us and calls us into our best selves. We inherit a huge songbook. The ancient people who went before us invited us into the Psalms. They have psalms for their deepest despair, their greatest rage, their anxiety, their hurt, their fear. These songs that rage against everybody and God, and at the very last hold on from the brink of falling off. There's even this set of psalms called the Psalms of Ascent, We mostly attend to them during that last week of Lent, that space where we head into Holy Week. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. It's from the Psalms of Ascent. It was a song that people would sing as they are literally ascending the hill into Jerusalem, moving one foot in front of the other, singing it together, remembering how people before them sang it, and hoping for the people who came after them, and the ways that they sing together in hard spaces, in difficult roads, in rocky conditions, in the face of Roman oppression. It's a collective psalm. We sing it individually, we sing it in the car, we sing it wherever we are, and then we sing it together. Which is why I think we should take stock of what the songs are that mean so much to us. There's a writer about liturgy, a theologian, who says that liturgy, this song, this readings, all of the work that we do together, they get into us so deeply, into the bone, is the name of his book. It is this nourishment, this wisdom that drips into us so far and so deeply that it girds us, that it strengthens us, that it holds us up into the bone. Which is why when we choose music and we choose words in this space, we do it with intention. Because I don't want something toxic to get into our bones. And if you listen to a lot of, say, Christian music, whether it's ancient and hymnal driven and not so ancient, but really played on an organ, or whether it's new and a whole bunch of folks with guitars and skinny jeans are leading the charge, it doesn't matter. So much of it is dangerous because it is shame-focused, fear-driven, exclusive and exclusionary. It is limiting and hurtful and harmful in so many ways. It is bloody and violent. And that is not what we need in our being. I want to invite you to think of what are the songs that give you courage? What are the songs that you have leaned in hard times? What are the songs that you have hit replay and replay and replay as you head into something or into a moment or into a meeting or into a class or into a presentation or into a hard, tense space in a relationship? What are those songs? Take a moment to take stock of them. You can write them down. If you need to, you can go online and write them on the feed. What are those songs? Just take a minute of reflection, just a moment. As you keep thinking of them, when I was 26, I made a playlist for my divorce. And it echoed through like super angry, desperately sad, sure of not survival, and then I Will Survive by Cake. Over and over and over and over. And later that next year, when I moved to Dallas for seminary, I had a new playlist of Wide Open Spaces by the Dixie Chicks, over and over and over, these spaces of hopefulness and fear and anxiety and wondering in songs over again. And we inherit a tradition that is so boundaried about what songs are sacred and what songs are secular, and none of that will work. The question should be, what songs are empowering? What songs give life? What songs help us find our way when we are most uncertain? What songs help us celebrate joy together? Maybe you have some playlists that we can collectively share. Maybe there's a phrase from a particular song that means something to you. These songs are powerful and empowering. When we think about Christmas and we think about Mary's Magnificat, this song about setting the oppressed free, lifting up the lowly, filling the hungry with good things, it is not just her Magnificat, it comes from her tradition. She learned this song, and at the moment of need, she found it. At a moment when the world felt like she should feel ashamed because she's pregnant and she shouldn't be, she says, I help you see God. I magnify the Lord. Those are the songs that we need to seep into us. And that's part of what we do each week together. You may remember a few years ago when we first started Drag Queen Story Hour before the pandemic, we had some folks who were less than thrilled. And they actually came inside to express their great displeasure. And they stomped around and up to this space where there was about 30 kids and then their 1 or 2 adults making a ring around them and the reader, and they yelled 2 expletives which start with F. We'll have a spiritual practice of swearing in the future, and it will be different than that. So look forward to it.
I am.
Coming. I don't know what it'll be about yet. I'm working on it. I've been thinking about it all summer. Anywho, they offered 2 expletives, and not in a spiritual way. And so we talked about it with the kids and the families after, and we started responding to protesters with a choir of welcomeness that turned into our ukulele choir, because who can be frustrated when they are surrounded by ukuleles? And that day, when Lila was about 5, we were driving in the afternoon, and she was still processing it, and she said, why were those people so mad and so angry? And I said, well, sometimes when people are afraid, they make bad choices. And she said, well, were they mad about Baby Doll's dress? Because it's the prettiest dress I've ever seen in my whole life. Sorry, Lila. I know. Man, it's hard having a pastor for a mom. And then she started to sing. She started to sing a song about courage. We are called to act with justice. We are called to live tenderly. She knew it because it was a part of who she was, because we had all sung it together over and over and over her whole life. We didn't sit down with everyone in Sunday school and say, here is this song that you need for whenever you feel upset or worried or unhappy. It wasn't a lesson plan or an exercise. It was just a part of practice. It was a part of showing up. That's what we do when we show up. We give that to ourselves. We give that to our families. We give that to one another. That's the gift. That's the gift of song that we inherit. May it be so. Amen.